What if I told you that the Bible isn't a European book? That before Christianity was used to colonize, control, and enslave, it was deeply rooted in African spirituality. That its content comes from and is derived from African spiritual systems. How did a sacred African tradition and literature become a tool of oppression? And why do so many black people still worship under the same systems that dehumanized them? Family, we need to have a talk. Let's talk about this and get into the real meat of the matter. Long before Europe ever heard or created the name Jesus, African civilizations were already writing spiritual laws, practicing divine rituals, and honoring the Most High, the creator of the universe. Kemet, Ethiopia, and Kush were the spiritual powerhouses of the ancient world, and we can't leave out our blessed African people. And let me be clear, there is no Christianity, no Judaism, and no Islam without Africa. Let's talk about how much of the Bible is directly taken from, plagiarized from African spiritual systems. Warning, can be triggering for many people who are not decolonized. The Ten Commandments. They mirror the 42 laws of Ma'at, written thousands of years before supposedly Moses received them. The concept of the virgin birth? Yes, that comes straight from the myth of Osiris, Aset, Isis, and Heru. In ancient Kemet, the idea of resurrection, that was already deeply rooted in African teachings long before the story of a Christ. The concept of a Christ comes from African Kemetic teachings. So the question we must ask, so why don't the church teach about this? Why don't they teach this in church? Why don't they tell you that Africa is the foundation of their sacred text, their scripture? Now here is where things get real. Once Rome got its hands on African spiritual teachings, they flipped it to serve their own agenda. In 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea edited, removed, and manipulated African scriptures and spiritual system teachings to fit Roman rule. Suddenly, Yeshua became white, African contributions were erased, and the original wisdom locked away, replaced with doctrines meant to keep people, guess what, obedient and not enlightened. When all of this happened, who was at the bottom of this new religious hierarchy? You guessed it, black people. So now let's fast forward. When European colonizers invaded Africa, and I mean invaded, and enslaved our ancestors, what tool did they use? You guessed it, the Bible. They twisted scriptures like slave obey your masters to justify the brutality of slavery. They forced us to reject our own gods, our own traditions, and embrace a faith that they told us we were cursed in. Hello, the curse of Ham lie? And most worst part is we believed it. We bought into it. They took what belongs to us, that was sacred to us, rebranded and repackaged it, and sold it to us. The biggest con that has ever happened in the world. Even to this day, if we're honest, black people world over are some of the most religious people you can find. Yet, we remain economically and politically oppressed. Why, you may ask? Because we were never taught to decolonize our faith, but that ends today. We have to understand this point, that the Bible was never meant to enslave us. It is a plagiarized book of our spiritual teachings, our book, before it was corrupted. Ethiopian Christians have been practicing since the 1st century, long before Rome hijacked the faith. And when you strip away the colonial layers, you find African wisdom at the core. Why? Because they got it from us. If you watch this far in the episode today, I know this is an uncomfortable conversation for many, and my next question is going to be just as uncomfortable. But I have to ask the black people this question. Why do we continue to worship under a system that enslaved, colonized, and dehumanized us? Why are we still bowing down to a whitewashed Jesus? Why are we giving billions to churches that do nothing for our liberation? A church that is a business, a corporation, where the pastor is the CEO, and all of the decisions for marketing and everything is all about a business, not about empowerment. So the question is, why do we stay in this rat race? Now this goes for everyone, no matter your spiritual traditions, no matter where you come from, no matter what ethnicity. If your faith isn't leading you to liberation, it's leading you to enslavement. I know sometimes it sounds like a broken record, but we must keep proclaiming it. It's time to unlearn the lies. High time. It's time to research African spiritual system, whether it's Kemetic teachings, the Yoruba tradition, or Ethiopian Christianity even. Read beyond the European version of the Bible. And most importantly, seek truth over tradition at all times. See, when we begin to reconnect with our original spiritual power, we stop begging for freedom and start embodying it. We become creators, healers, and nation builders. We reconnect with the spirit of our ancestors and what they stood for. Because family, the truth is, we were never meant to serve under any system. We were meant to reign and to rule the earth. And once we tap back into what we've lost, or what has been buried and forgotten about, and recover that memory for ourselves, we can collectively begin not just to overcome, not just to understand, but we really become the embodiment of our ancestors and what they envisioned. Some of you might be saying, well, Chief, what are you saying? Well, I'm saying that they erased our gods, our spiritual understanding. They rebranded our teaching. They turned our liberation into submission. But the truth was really never lost. It was just hidden. And now it's time to reclaim it. You can stay in the mental chains of colonized religion if you choose, or you can return to the source. The choice is all up to you. If this episode have shook something inside of you, it's time to do the work. Study, question, reclaim, because freedom isn't given. Freedom isn't free. It's taken, and you have to pay the price and be willing. As always, please like, comment, repost, share this message, and subscribe to this channel for more powerful, informative lessons of our records of the past and how we can make it in this, our reality, and into the future. Let's wake the people up everywhere. This has been another powerful episode of the Sankofa Sessions Podcast with your host, Chief Apostle Veronica Israel. Here is where we take you back into the past, our records of the past, to get clarity on our collective future. And always remember, you are powerful, you are creative. You are the epitome of the divine consciousness that created the universe. You are God in flesh having a human experience. And never let anyone or any ideology or philosophy tell you different. And until next time, peace be with you.